Debbie and I spent most of our lives living in the suburbs of northern Delaware, just outside Philadelphia. Our Delaware roots run many generations deep. Over the years, we were surrounded by countless friends, family, and our beloved church community. But once our kids were grown and established, Debbie and I decided that for our third act, we'd fulfill a lifelong dream and experience the adventure of living someplace completely different. It was hard, but over the next few years, we uprooted our lives. We sold our home and we let go of most of our stuff. About 3 years ago, I found a job transfer to Denver, hopped on I-70 in Baltimore, and drove to Colorado for the first time. We left a lot of things behind, but we brought our faith and our values with us. We fell in love with Colorado right away, and soon we started looking for a new church community. Over time, we stumbled onto First Congregational Church of Boulder. We attended worship a couple of times, and we felt aligned with the message and values we found here. But then, shortly after finding this congregation, about a year after arriving in Colorado, the pandemic hit, and we all learned to adjust to remote life. At just about the same time, I was diagnosed with a pretty serious stage 4 cancer. We began the long journey of drug trials, images, infusions, testing, and eventually stability. Soon after my diagnosis, people from this congregation began to reach out with encouragement and prayers. That surprised me because people here really didn't even know us yet. We weren't even members. But cards of encouragement, a prayer shawl, little gifts on our doorstep, all reminded us that we were cared for and we were welcome. Many cancer fighters know that faith secures hope and acceptance. First Congregational Church of Boulder is a community of faith where Debbie and I have been able to plant those new roots of hope. But this church is also a place to focus on matters that cannot be accepted, things that affect our nation and our community directly, such as gun violence, homelessness, catastrophic wildfires, and pervasive racial injustice. These are issues of our time for the time we have.
We feel blessed to have found a community that's not afraid to tackle tough issues with love and compassion, and that is grounded in an open and welcoming Christian faith. I was trying to figure out how to connect and give of my time while confined by the pandemic when I saw that a new ministry was forming around racial justice. And I thought of the Martin Luther King quote, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." And I recalled that Brian Stevenson of the Equal Justice Initiative says, we all have a responsibility to create a just society. I felt the call and I signed up. As we heard last week, the Bible teaches us that Abraham went and Jesus wept. God willing, the Racial Justice Ministry will enable some of our congregation to go to Montgomery, Alabama, where they will worship in the Dexter Avenue King Memorial Baptist Church, where the Reverend Dr. King was pastor during the Montgomery bus boycott. They will be inspired as they walk the path of civil rights workers that came before. They will experience the country's racial history at the Legacy Museum. They will weep at the power of the National Memorial for Peace and Justice. And they will return and share experiences so we all can grow together as a congregation and work to create a more just society. This will be made possible with the time and the talent and the treasure of this congregation. For Chuck and I, financially supporting the church is a privilege and necessary for our faith journey. We are able to be part of this church because of the generous support of the past generations, and we want this church to be here for future generations. May the love of Christ reside in each of your hearts.